welcome to Crafting with Jane. My name is Jane Ormark, and today I thought that I was looking through, I told you I was tidying out my drawers and things the other day, and I came across some shimmery crystal effects. You can see I don't think I ever use them. So I thought, oh, I haven't done for ages and ages and ages the stained glass effect card, so faux stained glass. So I thought I'd have a go at doing that. So it's got to be a square card because it's just going to be a square card. So I've got a card blank, and then I've got a matte, and I've used a neutral colour because I thought it would work well on a neutral. You could use any card size you wanted. And then what I've done is I have taken a floral die. Now again, you can use any die you want. I just wanted to use a floral die and a frame. So I've cut out 2 of these in white and then 1 in black, which is going to go right over the top. And then I've cut the frames again. I've cut 3 of them, and I did the frames with some squares. So I've got some square dies, and all I did was to take, I find the easiest way of doing it is die cut out 1 shape. So you've got the square shape. Then when that's die cut out, you then put this piece in. So you've got your square, you then put this piece in the center. Now, because I wanted them to be exactly the same size and the same aperture, I did both of the whites together. I've done the black slightly separately because I couldn't get 3 through because this is fairly thick card. But that's how you can get that. So those are the squares to give the frame. And the floral die, again, was an old floral die, but you can use any shape you want. I just thought that the flower would look quite nice. So I have stuck one of the squares and the floral in on a piece of white card, and I cut my card at 4 by 4 because I thought that that would be the right sort of size. But again, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to use some alcohol markers to colour it in. So I've got a pale pink and a dark pink. So I'm going to do each one of them. I take it out. And it doesn't matter if it goes over the lines because we are going to be able to, we're going to put another one over the top. So basically, I am just going to colour this in. I've got it on a foam mat underneath because I find that if I have it on something like that, it helps with colouring gently, but it also means that if it bleeds through, it's not going to bleed onto my table, which I think makes a difference. So I want to have a little bit of shading going in on here. So I'm going to have this coming in as the darker pieces, just sort of coming up in on here. And again, it doesn't overly matter how you're doing it. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time in colouring this. I just want to spend a little bit of time. So basically you do a light and a dark, and then you just sort of blend it through a bit. So I'm going to very quickly just colour all of this in to show you. And as I say, I'm not spending a huge amount of time on this. If you were doing it, spend your time in your colouring so you get your lovely sort of coloured marks. So, and I'm just doing a couple of shades of pink in here. I do the whole lot in one colour, and again, I am no expert in this, but from looking at various different tutorials that are out there on colouring, particularly like the Copic markers and things, and I haven't got Copic markers. I can't justify stretching that far for Copic markers, but but there are lots of alcohol markers out there on the market, so you know, choose whatever you've got. And you want to saturate with alcohol, you want to saturate it first, and then you want to do your colours coming through in just sort of layers. So I'm just laying down a pale pink first of all, and then I'm just going to take this one in on each one of these, and I'm just doing it across on the bottom part. As I say, if you're a good colorist, you will be doing it slightly differently, but I'm not the best at the moment, but I do like to learn, and I think it will look all right once it's all finished. I'm just getting the colour coming up in on here, so I'm doing it in on the underneath part, just bringing that up. And as I say, when you do this layer, it will look a bit of a hot mess, but by the time you've finished it all, it will look absolutely lovely. So I'm just taking this up in on here, so we've got some layers coming through. And in fact, I think I will probably take this up a bit further so it comes almost up, so we've just got the little tip parts in the paler colour, and turn it round as you go. As I say, this isn't really going to be about the colouring, but it won't harm if it is, if you see what I mean. So I'm just taking these up a little bit further, just with some colours. It's difficult, you can't do it quickly even though you try. It's one of those things that you do need to spend a little bit of time doing it. Okay, so that's that one on there, that's that one on there. Now I can go back to the pink. In fact, I might, I've got a nice, I always do swatches so I can see what colours I want. I want something a little bit darker, so let's go for this one, which I think will come in darker. And I want the darker piece right down in on the bottom in on here, so flicks up in on here, and then I'm going to take this, let's take a paler pink like an 84, and this is where it's good to have lots of different colours and things in on here. So I'm going to take this one and just blend that lot through so it's not quite so sharp, and take, whoops, help if you don't take both ends off. That's going to be my very dark piece down on the bottom, like that. Just going to take that in just down on the bottom. So you need to just have your different layers coming through. Like that. And then I'm just going to literally blend through on top, which will just tone it down a little bit. Okay, so let me turn it round where I want it, which is going to be down on here. Give a little bit of colouring in on here. Okay, so as I say, it looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but it won't once we've put the next layer on. So you can see I've really roughly coloured this. It's not expertly done at all. But, oh, and I need to do the outside as well, don't I, while I'm doing it. So I want to have a, don't know whether that's going to be dark enough. That's going to be fine. I think I'm going to do a dark like that first of all. Okay, so I want to do the bit round the frame. So what I'm doing is I'm using a dark blue. I'm literally just going round the edges in the dark blue. Again, it doesn't matter if it goes over the edge at all because this is your first layer. So that's going around there, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on here. So I just want to do these edges like that. And this edge like that. And you want to use relatively bright colours if you're making it a stained glass thing. You don't want it too subtle. And then I've got a turquoisey colour that can go. In fact, I can do that with the square nib. So I'm literally just going all the way across here. In fact, I think this one's probably running out. It is a bit. Let me see if I've got, what was the other one? That looked as if it was very similar, didn't it? Let me have a look and see, because that one's a bit. Shall we have this one? See how dark that is. Hopefully it's not too dark. It's a little bit darker, but it'll be all right. So you can see by just blending it through, it will just blend in. So as I say, when you're doing this layer, it does look a bit of a hot mess because you're not worrying about your lines or anything. You're literally just putting colour down, which is great because it means that you don't have to be overly, precise or worry about it going off the edges. You're just literally laying down some bright colours in. And now all I'm going to do is go right up to this bit on here to make sure that that goes in, because with the thick nib I couldn't just get that in very well. So that goes in like that. Okay, so that's given us that. And as I say, it doesn't look particularly wonderful yet, but once we start, we're going to put the next one of this in. So I'm just going to I'm using wet glue. You can use sticky sheets if you want to. I tend to not use, I use sticky sheets for very intricate dies sometimes because there's not enough room to glue, but wet glue, you do have quite a fine I'm just making sure I get this in nice and straight. You do have quite a fine nozzle, so it is easier to do. Okay, so that's my second layer, which can go on like that, and we want the second layer of this one. So again, just make sure you've got any little bits of the dye. Sometimes if you run it backwards and forwards, you get like a tiny little extra fine cut line, which normally doesn't matter, but on something like this you don't really want to have that done. So I'm going to just get this in on here, and I'm just going round, and you can see I can quite easily just go round with my fine glue pen, and I'm not getting it over the edges at all. I'm literally just writing it as if I was doing it with a pen. It is really, this Tombow is such a good glue. It really is, because you don't have to use a lot of it. It lasts a long time, and as I say, you can do just tiny weeny little lines, and you know it's not got to go everywhere. Okay, so we now need to stick this in on top, and you can see it's starting to look a little bit better. So that goes in on top like that. Okay, so we can then put it in. Okay, so now I need to put the crystal effects in before I put this next one on, because that's going to come in on the top, which is going to make it look beautiful. But I need to make sure that I've got the crystal effect in here first. So what we need to do is we need to just squeeze this out, and hopefully it's going to come out all right, because I say I haven't used it. So let's see if it's going to come. Is it going to come out? Oh yes, it is. Look at that. Lovely. So I'm just literally squeezing it along. And then what you have to do is to just make sure that it goes into the edges on here. And you can use a little pen on there, because it should just go. This is probably not, it's okay, it's not the greatest. I think it's gone a little bit gloopy, but I think it'll be all right for this one. As I say, you can use any type of crystal effects that you've got, and you're just filling in these little pieces, and then it will level itself off. I'm just putting it down on here first, like that. And then what you have to do is, let's just put this on here for a minute, is to take either a very fine cocktail stick or something very thin. Now I've got these very fine scissors, so what I'm going to do is to just spread it into the corners. So you gently sort of spread it across, and it should just run through quite neatly. And once you've done it in, what I tend to do is to give it a bit of a shake in on the bottom. So I'm just moving it across. This is a bit like sort of wet, gluey stuff, and you do need to leave it to dry. The thing that I tend to do is I will leave it for, you know, sort of overnight, because then it's easier. You know that it's going to be absolutely perfectly dry. But a lot of people don't, you know, will try and do too many bits beforehand, and it hasn't had a chance to dry. So by doing it this way, I've got a little tiny bit of black on there. It gives it a chance to dry off perfectly. So just make sure that it's got up to the edges on there. And when you look at it, you should have like a nice sort of shiny bit. So what I tend to do is you can just shake it a little bit so that those little pieces will come and go in. This is a bit gloopy on there because it's only a tiny bit, so I can just take another piece in on there. And as I say, as it dries, it will dry beautifully clear. This one's got a little bit of, supposed to have a little bit of a shimmer in it, which yes, it has, tiny little bit of shimmer in, so that's quite nice. And then once we've done this bit, we need to do the outside bit as well. So you know, this will take out quite a bit, but that's fine, because it's this needs using up because it's quite old. So I'm literally just glooping it all the way round, and it's only tiny, so I don't think we'll be having too much on there. And then I need to, I might actually do it with, I've got a little knife here. See if I can get it in with a knife, because I say it should be a little bit runnier than this, but this is fine. I think it'll go in okay. So I'm just going to spread it across a bit, I think. That's coming through a bit better. You get a little bit of a shimmer on it, which is quite nice. And I might have to do a couple of layers of this, because as I say, it it should be a lot looser. And this obviously is quite old, but you know my motto of waste not, want not, so I am just making sure that I can do it and it will just come in on the spaces that we want, which I think it will quite nicely, to be quite honest. Yes, that looks better. And as I say, you get that sort of shimmery sort of look on it. It looks quite nice actually, because where I've used this on here, I've got almost like sort of palette knifey part, which makes it look almost a little bit more sort of stained glass looking. Okay, so once we've done that bit, then all we have to do, and I'm not going to glue it on now because it needs to dry, but is to put your dark layer on top like that. And then we'll have this piece coming in on here like this. I'm literally just resting it on so you can see. So that's going to go like that. And then we can put a sentiment and whatever on. I'm going to have it on, as I said, the card base like that. This in like that. And you've got a lovely stained glass look. As I say, it will take a little while to dry. I might put another layer on top so we get a lovely, lovely shiny look to it. But that's how you can achieve the stained glass look. So, hope you enjoyed that. As always, please stay safe and well. Please be kind and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.